Morning listeners, it's Monday, it's ASG Monday, and we have a really special treat today. As you know, the ASG have a vintage refashion workshop that they're partnering with Evelyn Wood, and today we have the amazing Evelyn Wood. Hi Evelyn.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's really wonderful that you've given us your time to talk about the vintage refashion workshop that you're partnering with ASG on.
It is my absolute pleasure.
Evelyn, can you introduce your sewing skill to our listeners?
Of course I can. So I have vintagesewingschool.com. This is my online sewing school that I launched in November just last year. And it's where basically I do all of my teaching nowadays. It's a membership style, so people come in and there's sort of every month there's new content that releases or workshops. It's all about vintage sewing skills for our modern day sewing. So it's really based around the skills that you need to know so that you can create anything you want, not just sort of make this top, that skirt, the individual skills that make up these. So it's really about individual creating and really learning the dressmaking skills that our grandmothers once used to be able to sew anything that they could dream of.
What has fueled your passion for vintage sewing?
I would say it started, with vintage style. I've always sort of been drawn to the past for inspiration. And then many years ago, I really delved deep into vintage style and turned down that path. And that's when I really sort of became aware of using vintage patterns, that they're actually available and that was a thing. And looking at old sewing textbooks and all the old books that I find about dressmaking, they all list the way that you look and learn about sewing quite differently than the way that we do today when you sort of start to go look at sewing, like how to learn. And for me, the idea of how they teach it, as in these are your seam finishes that you use, these are your how to do necklines, these are how to do like the individual skills really makes sense to me, because my goal whenever I'm learning with sewing is the same as many of the people I guess that are in my community and drawn to me, is that they really want to create anything that you want, not just follow a pattern step by step by step. And it's also about refashioning and mending and all of these home sewing skills that you don't really see these days. So that's what really drew me into this world. And then starting with vintage style, but also the actual process of sewing, how it was once done as well.
Are there any vintage icons that you look towards for inspiration?
I love, in the 1920s, Mary Brooks Picton created the Women's Institute of Home Science. And so she was quite influential member in the fashion and sewing world. It sort of progressed not even just to home sewing, but into the fashion world. She was, invited to all the top runway shows and everything, even though she was just a sewing teacher, essentially. And she created all sorts of home sewing courses for women to be able to learn how to dressmake at home. And I find what she did was really remarkable, what she did with her school and built that up. She's one person that I definitely look to and to see what she achieved in the home sewing world that is very inspirational to me.
Oh, lovely. The people who are going to be joining your partnership with ASG for the Vintage Refashion workshop, will they be able to learn some of these techniques or get a glimpse into these techniques through your workshop?
Definitely. My workshop is a gateway workshop to refashioning. So I've kept that particular workshop is self-contained, obviously, and is step by step by step on a really easy refashion that sort of anyone can get their hands into and do, even as a beginner sewer, get those starting times in refashioning. And it is step by step, because when you start, you really don't know what to do. You probably never pulled apart a garment before and thought about a garment as fabric and what do you do? So that workshop is step by step, learning different skills along the way, because it's all the skills that make up the end project. And so in my school is, of course, many other things that go along those lines as well.
Oh, lovely. With the actual workshop that is being offered, what can people expect?
Yes. So the workshop I have with the ASG is simple camisole refashion workshop. So it starts off as a men's shirt, and I take all the viewers through step by step. Each instruction is all video lessons, so you can stop and pause me and do each step along the way into refashioning it into a really lovely Edwardian inspired camisole. So little lace straps, a little lace top, tie, drawstring, just really simple and easy. As I said, kind of a gateway refashion to really just get you started and seeing what is possible, like what you can actually do when you have everything laid out step by step.
It sounds like all of the features that you've got on the camisole have a strong vintage feel.
Yes, definitely. My aesthetic is obviously vintage, so there is always a vintage feel to all of my different stylings. This school isn't about that. You can obviously style any of these however you like, to look modern, to look vintage. Anything that like that, it's always more about the way that you wear something as to whether how vintage or how modern it actually looks. It comes across into our modern time still. I see very similar little camisoles in the shops today still that are obviously inspired by the Edwardian corset cover look as well. So it's quite interesting when you actually start to see all those similarities of the inspirations that even high street fashion labels, you see it come across in their fashion.
Oh, you do. You see it when they're layering, etc., and the sort of feel that they go for when they're putting their collections together.
That's right, yes. So part of the workshop and collaboration with the ASG is that the members have access to the workshop, and they actually can enter into a competition in where there's a set time date, can send in their submissions of their refashioned camisole from the workshop and actually go into the draw to win a 6-month scholarship into my vintage sewing school.
That's a wonderful prize.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's going to be really fun, and I absolutely cannot wait to see everybody's creations, because the idea is that it's very versatile and it's very customizable. I always make my workshop giving you ideas for different options and different variations that you might be able to do to suit your individual style. So everybody always does this workshop, and they always have a different look. Like, it always looks different to suit whoever the creator's personality is. So it will be really exciting to actually see everybody's refashions come to life through this.
It will be lovely. So for anyone who's new to sewing, this is a really great opportunity to get their skills started and then have that developed to show who they are with the vintage feel.
Definitely a beginner-friendly projects, and anyone who's interested in refashioning and altering clothes that is scared and hasn't really delved down there before, because no one really sort of teaches that area of refashioning and altering. So it's a great way to get started and just show you what's possible, what you can do.
And this is a really great opportunity for anyone who is interested in vintage sewing techniques to get a start down that path, rather than going through the modern techniques that are so freely available.
That's right. There's a lot of different ideas from the past in how dressmaking was taught, and these skills that can definitely help you in even making modern clothes and just the way that you look at making anything up, really. It's about the process.
Yeah, it is about the process. And it's with you too, so it's really good. That's the bonus.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you think so.
So here are the dates, listeners, on the AusSew, so aussEW.org.au website. That's the Australian Sewing Guild website. You can go to the events page, find the Vintage Refashion Workshop. Now, the starting date to register is on the 15th of May, so that's this week, and it ends on the 31st of July. Now, thankfully, with this partnership, Evelyn, you've offered this workshop as a freebie for ASG members.
That's right, yes. So members have access through their membership with the Australian Sewing Guild. That's right.
And for non-members, it's a very small fee of $15. So to get your foot into the vintage sewing and also the refashioning part of sewing, this is a really good opportunity to get a taste for vintage refashion with Evelyn Wood.
Yes, that's right. I've never offered a single workshop like this before, but I thought the Australian Sewing Guild was a perfect opportunity to collaborate with. And I think it's a really good time that this has come up actually, because I think everybody has a men's shirt around home that they could probably sacrifice for a little fun refashioning project.
That's right. For people who want to enter, they need to register so that they will be updated for any updates that are happening with the workshop, and pictures can be sent to sewalong@also.org.au by the 8th of August, so that a random draw of those entries will be drawn on the 10th of August. And as you said, Evelyn, it's for a 6-month subscription to your vintage fashion school.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Evelyn, for giving us your time today and giving our listeners something to get excited about with their sewing this week.
Well, thank you so much. It has been an absolute pleasure, and I hope that some of your listeners might come and join in on the collaboration that we're doing, and I might get to see their refashions submitted for the competition.
Yes, the photo album will be on the ASG website until the 31st of August.
Anybody can go and have a look and see what everybody has been able to refashion and create.
It'll be fun.
That's right. Thank you so much.